A pale glow had already begun to spread across the horizon when Rowan stepped out of his car, camera bag slung over one shoulder, thermos of steaming coffee in hand. He inhaled the crisp pre-dawn air, letting the subtle aroma of dew-laden grass fill his lungs. This was the perfect time to stand under an open sky without any noise or distractions, just him, the world, and the potential every new day brought. A meteorologist by profession, he had grown up mesmerized by storm clouds, sun halos, and every subtle shift in the weather. Nothing thrilled him more than the promise of a spectacular atmospheric display. And on that morning, high above a wide open field, a brilliant sunrise was poised to take shape. He was there to study it, to feel its nuances. Yet, though he was prepared with all his scientific apparatus, he couldn't help feeling a twinge of excitement that was not purely professional. He was there for something else as well, or rather, someone. Parked nearby, a vintage van with cheerful paint swirls served as a studio, on wheels for his new collaborator, Lilia, a photographer with a talent for capturing the ephemeral beauty of dawn. They had only met once over a video call to plan this venture, chasing the perfect sunrise in a hot air balloon. The notion had been half a dream, half a task. Rowan needed sunrise data and cloud formation charts, while Lilia craved cinematic shots of the sun cresting over the horizon in all its fiery glory. When their mutual friend introduced them, Rowan was skeptical. Collaborations were fine, but he preferred to work alone under the vast sky, free from distractions. Yet 1 minute into speaking with Lilia, her contagious passion had him on board. Something in her voice promised that this would be more than just a data-gathering expedition. He took a few steps toward the van, noticing how the sunlight began to blossom behind it. In the half-light, Lilia's silhouette flitted about, rummaging for something in the back. She emerged a moment later, clutching a cluster of camera lenses in a velvety pouch. Her hair was braided across one shoulder with a few renegade curls, and her eyes sparkled with the sort of anticipation that reminded Rowan of kids on Christmas morning. She wore a soft scarf depicting abstract sunrises. It was a small detail, but he found it lovely and disarming. He greeted her with a warm smile. She offered him one in return, and for a moment they came together by the hot air balloon that awaited them in the open field. The balloon's envelope lay sprawled on its side like a sleeping giant about to awaken. Bright stripes of crimson, gold, and sky blue melted into one another, echoing the pastel horizon. 2 crew members were performing final checks on the basket and making sure the propane tanks were secure. The balloon pilot, Harrison, was a genial older man with laugh lines etched into his sun-weathered face. He waved them over, inviting them to inspect the basket. Rowan reported the expected wind conditions and potential cloud cover to Harrison, who nodded in approval. Meanwhile, Lilia ran her fingers over the wicker edges and peered inside, eyes brimming with curiosity. When she started bringing out her equipment, various camera bodies, lenses, tripods, Rowan was quietly impressed. She treated everything with elegant efficiency, aware of exactly how each piece worked and how to set up to capture different angles of the rising sun. She spoke to him about how to catch the subtle transitions and colors as the light changed. He explained a complex concept about temperature inversions and the diffused patterns they could likely see from their aerial vantage. They both grew animated. She was a curious student one moment, a knowledgeable master of light the next, and he realized how refreshing it felt to have such synergy. The balloon began to inflate with a rhythmic roar from the burner. Bright fabric rose in billows, splashed with the kind of rich hues that were the stuff of Lilia's photographic dreams. Rowan felt his heart leap as the balloon lifted upright. This was the moment he had been waiting for, the chance to see the world beneath him, to gather the data he needed from an unparalleled vantage point, and to spend hour upon hour in the sky with someone who radiated the same wonder he felt. Lilia, on the other hand, was drawn into each vibrant color unfolding in front of her eyes. capturing still frames of the inflation process. As the kettle-like hiss of the burner fused with the hum of anticipation, the two of them shared an exhilarated grin, an unspoken promise that this was just the beginning of something memorable. They climbed into the basket, clinging to its edges as Harrison guided them through safety instructions. Soon, with a gentle lurch, the balloon lifted off the ground. The receding field below looked like a patchwork quilt of greens and browns, stitched together by winding dirt roads. The early morning light stretched across the world, revealing glints of dew on trees and the shimmer of a distant creek. Rowan pulled out his notepad and thermometer, and Lilia angled her camera, snapping away. Yet for a moment both paused in pure awe. Whether scientist or artist, the birth of day in that enormous sky was a universal wonder. At first they spoke in professional tones. Rowan charted the changes in ambient temperature, describing which cloud forms were likely to appear. Lilia asked questions about how wind currents interacted with the balloon's altitude. But slowly, as the sun edged upward, their conversation drifted into more personal territory. The confines of the basket, floating in the quiet hush at the edge of the stratosphere, seemed to wrap them in a sense of intimacy. Rowan found the courage to ask about Lilia's background, how she had come to chase dawn after dawn with her camera. She revealed she had once been a news photographer, capturing local events and occasional tragedies, car crashes, occasional house fires, which felt exploitative to her gentle nature. It wasn't until she started taking photos at sunrise just to decompress that she discovered her true calling. The beauty of a sunrise can't be orchestrated, she said softly, eyes on the horizon. It's a reminder that even after the darkest night, there's new light. It just happens almost like magic, and we get to be there for it. He treasured her words, feeling a glimmer of kinship. Although he was used to analyzing cloud patterns and reading instruments, he never lost sight of the poetry hidden in nature's symphony. Her perspective felt like a living complement to his own, a perfect pairing of artistry and science. As they rose higher, streaks of bright orange lit the sky, radiating out from a glowing center like spokes on a wheel. Rowan pointed out strips of cirrus clouds overhead, describing in detail how they formed ice crystals at high altitudes. Lilia listened, rapt, while adjusting the focus on her camera. Then she snapped a series of shots, capturing both the cloud formations and Rowan's thoughtful expression, a moment that would remain forever captured in digital memory. He noticed her lens aimed in his direction and felt a slight rush of self-consciousness, combined with gratitude that she found him worth photographing. They drifted over farmland and low rolling hills, occasionally waving to early risers who peered up at the balloon from their backyards or front porches. In the warm basket, time seemed to slow. Harrison kept the craft at an altitude that offered optimum viewing of the creeping daylight. Lilia switched lenses to a wide angle to capture the balloon's interior against the backdrop of the emerging sunrise. Rowan jotted down readings and sketches in his little notebook, carefully documenting the phenomenon unfolding around them. Soft banter ensued, sprinkled with laughter whenever one teased the other for their single-minded focus on capturing or measuring the morning's perfection. Patches of soft cloud rolled in, swirling around the balloon's curved canopy. Sunlight broke through, creating fragments of rainbows in the thin mist. Lilia let out a soft gasp. She clicked the shutter rapidly, capturing the ephemeral prismatic arcs. Rowan explained that with droplets suspended at certain angles and the sun behind them, micro-rainbows formed. She joked that he must be a wizard of the skies, weaving science and magic into a tapestry of clouds. Normally shy about personal compliments, Rowan felt proud in that moment. For as long as he remembered, he had been teased for being too serious or lost in charts. Here, he was valued for exactly that knowledge. It felt liberating. Bit by bit, they revealed more of themselves. Between Lilia's shots, Rowan shared how he grew up in a coastal town battered by seasonal storms. He had loved witnessing lightning dance across the ocean, and hearing thunder roll like a distant drum. That awe planted the seed that led him to study meteorology in college. Lilia admitted to feeling a sense of heartbreak each time she saw something beautiful but had no one to share it with. She loved how photography gave her the ability to share glimpses of beauty with the world, especially to those who might not see it themselves. A mother at home with 3 kids, someone working a night shift, or an elderly person who couldn't leave their room. Every sunrise photo was a gift she offered them. The balloon ascended a few more feet. A hush fell over them as the sun's disk finally crowned the horizon in vocal brilliance. Vibrant reds and oranges swirled with a golden radiance that set the sky alight. The entire landscape was drenched in shifting, warming hues. In that fleeting moment, Rowan paused from his notations, and Lilia lowered her camera. They let the sunrise claim their silent reverence. In those seconds, it was as if the morning was for them alone, a hush of crystalline significance that connected them across the basket. She stood close to him, the swirl of the balloon's burner occasionally flickering overhead, and their shoulders brushed. He felt a wave of gratitude for both nature's daily miracle and the uncanny bond forming around it. When Lilia's camera shutter resumed, Rowan's body moved almost instinctively closer to her. She captured the balloon's shadow cast upon nearby clouds, the shining arc of the sun. Soon, he found that watching her capture these visuals was as captivating to him as the sunrise itself. He admired the way her brows knitted in concentration and how her lips curved into a subtle smile with each successful shot. Though it surprised him, he was content to witness the moment through her lens rather than his instruments. He had never been drawn so strongly to another person, at least not in such a short time. By mid-morning, the light had shifted into a gentler palette. The balloon glided on mild breezes. Harrison, having allowed the 2 travelers enough time to revel, signaled that he would maneuver gently for a landing before the day grew too warm. Lilia leaned over the basket's edge, capturing the farmland below, now bathed in a softer light. Rowan handed her a piece of sweetbread he'd packed, and they shared a quick snack. While the atmosphere was still sweet and quiet, they both felt something deeper stirring between them. Eye contact lingered. Her laughter felt deeper, warmer. Rowan realized that the sense of weightlessness in the balloon was mirrored inside him. The landing came smoothly in a clearing near a cluster of sunflowers. Harrison expertly guided the balloon down, letting it hop once or twice on the tall grass before coming to a standstill. With a flurry of relief and practiced calm, the ground crew helped secure the basket. Rowan hopped out first, offering Lilia a hand as she found her footing. Her cheeks were flushed from the early morning chill. He could see that she was still riding the high of photographing such a flawless sunrise. Unable to contain her excitement, she showed him a preview on her camera's display, each shot a testament to nature's splendor. He was equally struck by a candid shot she'd taken of him as he gazed at the sunrise, appearing as if lost in a momentary dream. They spent the next hour helping the team pack the balloon. Rowan found himself glancing at Lilia every chance he got, whether she was tying down ropes or carefully organizing her camera gear. He realized he wanted to see the world the way she did, imbued with color, brimming with life and hidden stories. Soon, in the hush of a post-flight calm, the ground crew departed. Rowan offered Lilia a ride to the next spot they had planned to observe, a small hilltop that overlooked a valley where ground fog often settled. They intended to document late morning light effects, but in truth, both were simply eager to continue sharing each other's company. Seated in Rowan's car, they found themselves talking about their dreams beyond the morning's chase. Lilia spoke of her wish to create a photography book that could be donated to hospitals, where patients could gaze upon fleeting sunrises during their hardest times. Rowan's eyes lit up at the idea. He confessed he'd always wanted to write a more accessible, poetic book about meteorology, something that married scientific facts with the wonder he felt. Their ideas blossomed with every mile of the journey. Turning off the main road, they wound up a narrow dirt path leading to a secluded overlook. Willow trees kept the space private, and wildflowers dotted the ground. The valley stretched out before them, veiled in a delicate layer of low-lying mist. They spread out a blanket atop the damp grass and sat side by side, letting the mild sun warm their faces. Lilia took a few test shots of the fog-blanketed valley, capturing how sunlight cut through, forming radiant beams. Rowan, with a small anemometer in hand, measured the gentle breeze. But soon instruments were set aside, the notebook was closed, the camera rested on a corner of the blanket. Without planning it, they found themselves just talking, laughing, and even sitting in reflective silence. The conversation meandered from the best vantage points around the world to see dawn, to anecdotes about families, childhood memories, and the occasional heartbreaks that shaped them. Lilia revealed a vulnerability. She feared getting too close to someone, that intimacy would tether her adventurous spirit. Rowan, in turn, admitted he'd always built his identity around being solitary, immersing himself in weather phenomena as a comfortable escape from human entanglement. Yet here they were, forging a bond that felt effortless, natural. Each felt safe exposing their dreams and insecurities. A gentle breeze rustled the willow branches overhead. The day had fully awakened, and the sun now sat high enough to banish all but shreds of the valley's mist. Lilia leaned her head against Rowan's shoulder. He tensed just slightly at the electric charge that came from that small point of contact, but then he let himself relax into it, savoring the companion. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting that sense of shared wonder wash over her. He placed his hand on hers, feeling the soft pulse of her wrist. It was a point of fragile beauty, not unlike the fleeting dawn they both cherished. When Lilia finally lifted her head, her eyes shone with an unspoken tenderness. It was a warmth that dispelled all need for further words. She reached over to show him some of her recent shots, leaning so close he could smell hints of lavender in her hair. Each photograph seemed more beautiful than the last, a testament not just to her skill, but to the energy she poured into capturing fleeting magic. There was a crackle of potential in the air, much like the static that precedes a thunderstorm. Yet in this case, the spark was refined, comforting, and full of a gentle promise. Lilia had another location she wanted to scout for a potential evening shoot, and Rowan had the rest of the day to process his data. Neither wanted to say goodbye just yet, but practicality called. They made their way back to the main road. Before parting, they lingered by their vehicles, that moment of departure unexpectedly heavy with significance. "Thank you," Rowan said softly. "I can't remember the last time I enjoyed a morning that much." She smiled, stepping closer. "Me neither. And I've chased a lot of sunrises. Usually I'm alone behind the camera, but today, well, it felt different." Her words trailed off, yet their meaning was clear. A silent understanding gleamed in both of their eyes. Something new had begun in that wisp of dawn. They could either let it fade like fog by mid-morning sun, or they could chase it, nurture it. Without overthinking it, Rowan gently brushed a rogue curl from her cheek. Encouraged, Lilia leaned up and pressed a feather-like kiss to his cheek, her lips a warm promise against his skin. The gesture surprised them both. Nervous laughter followed, and a wave of heat tinted their faces. But the moment also held a clarity. They didn't want this to be the last time. Over the following weeks, their collaborations grew into a vibrant dance of shared discovery. They began by scouting more hot air balloon flights and mesmerizing vantage points, mountains, cliffs, hidden clearings. Each dawn became an opportunity to witness the birth of day anew. They documented pink streaks across the sky, listened to the hush before the sun's crest, photographed the ephemeral reflection of morning and quiet lakes. For every sunrise on film, Rowan made a new entry in his journal. And for each piece of data he logged, Lilia had a photograph that brought the dryness of charts to life. At night, they found themselves talking for hours, either in person if they were camped near the next flight location, or on the phone if responsibilities forced temporary separation. As summer lengthened its days, a harmony settled into their routine. Lilia's photography skill grew, drawing on Rowan's advice about atmospheric conditions. Rowan's sense of wonder deepened through Lilia's lens. Weekend flights turned into multi-day expeditions, their text messages filled with half-joking, half-reverent lines about the sky. Cirrus on the horizon might be dancing among angels at dawn, or Rainbow Watch 6 a.m. Bring your spirit. Their bond was clearly more than professional. Friends and colleagues began to notice a sparkle in their eyes, an extra skip in their step. Eventually, Lilia mentioned the possibility of a final grand sunrise flight-in event to cap their collaborative project before turning it into something tangible. She discovered a scenic valley surrounded by rolling mountains and an alpine lake, known locally for some of the most breathtaking dawn vistas in the region. She spoke about it on the phone, excitement making her words tumble over each other. She envisioned rising above the lake in a hot air balloon, capturing the shifting tapestry of color reflected perfectly in the still water below. Rowan's heart soared at the idea, and they set the date. The night before the flight, they camped near the lake's edge to ensure an early start. Sitting by a small campfire, they shared stories in hushed tones. Stars shimmered overhead, and faint moonlight touched everything in silver. Lilia's eyes danced as she recounted an old travel tale. Rowan countered with one of his own, detailing how a freak storm at sea had once inspired him to study advanced meteorological patterns. Their words ebbed and flowed, and it felt as though the entire universe had conspired to place them there, together in that remote corner of the world. Sleep came in fits for Rowan, too energized by the thought of the following morning. In the pre-dawn chill, they gathered their gear and set out to meet the balloon pilot. Away from city lights, the sky was dark and strewn with stars. Their breath fogged in the cool air, they found the balloon in a clearing near the lake, its envelope like a silent sentinel waiting for first light. As the pilot fired up the burner, the balloon inflated with a thunderous hiss, its brilliant colors illuminated by the blue-black sky. A sense of déjà vu washed over them. Similar steps, but with a deeper undercurrent now. They boarded the basket, side by side. The pilot released ballast, and with a gentle tug, they left the ground. Beneath them, a sleeping lake glistened under faint starlight. Just as the horizon began to lighten, Lilia readied her camera. Rowan peeked at his instruments, verifying the forecast. Then, as if nature channeled their collective yearning, the eastern sky erupted in an extraordinary display. Streaks of rose, peach, and soft lavender radiated outward, reflecting like liquid fire on the lake below. The mirror-like water magnified it all, creating a double sunrise. A hush fell over them. Lilia's camera captured the spectacle with reverence. Rowan's pen paused, suspended above his paper, unable to articulate what he was experiencing. Nothing could do this justice but the raw splendor itself. He turned to Lilia. She looked up at him, tears forming at the corners of her eyes, perhaps from the wind or from sheer emotional overwhelm. Her lips parted, but she said nothing. No words were needed. The sky spoke for them. Rowan felt a rush of courage. He stepped closer. In the gentle sway of the balloon, he cupped her cheek and leaned in. This time, their kiss was sure, illuminated by dawn's fire. It was as tender as rose-tinted clouds, and as ardent as the sun forging its path through the horizon's darkness. They were two souls suspended in the cradle of the sky, heartbeats thrumming in unison with the hum of the burner and the hush of the morning wind. Their lips parted, and a soft laugh escaped from Lilia, equal parts joy and relief, like an unspoken vow fulfilled. The pilot offered a discreet, knowing smile, guiding the balloon's altitude. For a moment, the scientific charts, the camera lenses, the pursuit of data, everything receded into the background. Their connection, buoyed by the swirling colors of dawn, took center stage. In the hours that followed, they continued to float high above the lake. Lilia captured the changing hues as the sun ascended. Rowan marked the final details in his book, heart pounding with an emotion he had never quite experienced. From that morning onward, the bond between meteorologist and photographer would continue well beyond the ephemeral dawn. They understood that love, like the sky, was boundless, filled with currents and downdrafts and spectacular displays of light each moment, a phenomenon worth witnessing and, more importantly, worth feeling together.